Murder Drones just released a teaser and release date for its next episode, which should air on Friday the 18th of this month of August. Today, we're going to talk about what's going to happen in this episode based off the teaser, which indicates that we'll be going back to the mysterious elevator alluded to in the last two episodes. This elevator is at the center of every conspiracy in the show at the moment, and a place where Uzi and Doll think they will find some answers. In the show, Uzi and Doll are seemingly regular worker drones who grew up in the bunker on Comper 9. Uzi and Doll both, however, have the Absolute Solver activated in them, which seems to give them crazy powers while also overheating them. This overheating makes them somewhat like the disassembly drones, who only eat the bodies of their worker drones to get the cooling oil that stops them from overheating. Uzi's Solver seemed to activate shortly after blowing up Jay back in episode 1, and Doll seemed to have been using hers for quite some time, already subsisting off of the oil of other drones. This Absolute Solver also activates in Jay when she experiences too much damage and needs to be put back together. Previously, I theorized that the Absolute Solver was a virus that jumps to the body of someone like Uzi if they damage a disassembly drone, but after we saw the zombie drone training tape, we learned that wasn't the case. The Absolute Solver is the base AI program that the humans of Earth seem to use, with an operating system such as a worker drone OS being used to not just give it specific objectives, but to limit it from trying to use its intelligence in a way that it's harmful to its own hardware. The Absolute Solver seems to overheat simply because it's using its hardware in a way that it isn't meant for. We've seen the Absolute Solver exploit the laws of physics quite a bit, and the superheat this can cause, such as when Uzi blows up an arrow and turns it into some sort of monster, gives the impression that it's all from hyper-accelerating parts of its mechanics that were not meant to be pushed to such limits. Without the worker drone OS, however, the Absolute Solver can find what these limits are, test them, and find solutions such as the drinking of oil to keep the machinery functioning. The training tape that explains the dangers of the base AI was called Zombie Drones, and was actually a training tape for JC Jensen technicians to properly dispose of drones so that the base AI doesn't reboot. The training tape was found at the camp that this mysterious elevator in the new glitch post is alluding to. At this camp, Uzi found paperwork with similar imagery to her and Doll's bracelets, mysterious bracelets that their mothers both had, and which Uzi believes to be tied to them both having the Absolute Solver. The paperwork and training tapes teach us that this camp was largely for the disposal of various worker drones. Uzi finds a strange bug machine here that acts as a sort of interactive device for the camp as a whole. It scans Uzi's bracelet and, thinking she is her mother, boots up a menu of work options. One of those options is torture chamber complaints, and another is an option for end of suffering. Both indicate that in addition to this being where drones were disposed of, this is where they were retrained as well, with torture being a very obvious method they used to try and salvage drones before absolutely destroying them. Something that even seems to be common on Earth, considering that Sin was constantly chained up in the basement of the mansion and N was chained up outside. Finally, there is an option to call an elevator, which set up a mysterious new location to come back to in a later episode. Following this, we would get an episode back into the past of N and V during their time on Earth, where we would learn a lot of details about how the Absolute Solver took control of a rebooted drone body we call Sin, and slaughtered all the humans that work at JC Jensen to take control of the company. This completely repainted our idea of what happened in the past of Copper 9, which according to Uzi involved the humans accidentally blowing themselves up in a way that the drones were unaffected by, leaving them to take over Copper 9. When the disassembly drones first came, we were led to believe that they were sent by the humans, something Jay even jokes about a lot even as Uzi is blowing her face off with a laser gun. It turns out, however, that it was Sin who rebuilt the disassembly drones into their monstrous fallen angel vampire forms. It seems extremely likely that Sin wanted the drones of Copper 9 for herself, as it would be a safe place for her to start reconstructing them into the form she wants, something she's already really focused on in the basement of Tessa's mansion. All she would have to do is find a way to wipe out all the humans on that colony, something way easier than having to deal with all of the humans on Earth and their resources, despite how easy just one party may be for her to slaughter. The best way to get direct access to the drones themselves would be to kill those humans first, and what better way to do that than with a drone? Now, in the teaser, we get an elevator-like experience from several floors down, ending with the gang looking at something below them. The lowest levels seem to be the nicest areas, the living quarters. As it gets higher, the areas get less nice, more corporate, going from nice office entrances even to more soulless cubicle areas. And somewhere beyond these rooms, I imagine they'll find another floor in the episode, one with a very interesting hint at what Uzi's mother found that set the events of the show in motion. Now, the camp does seem to be for the purpose of disposal, and Uzi's mother Nori seems definitely involved based on the picture of her on the worker badge, so she didn't steal it from a human. But I don't think she knew that they were disposing of drones there until near the end of that time. The zombie drones tape warns that it's for training purposes only for JC Jensen technicians, and that robots will have a very negative reaction to it. It seems that regardless of what they do to the worker OS, they have a very horrible reaction to the idea of simply being turned off for good, and it's something they don't let the drones know about, even at this camp where that is one of their primary jobs. The last part of this disposal process, as the tapes show, appear to always be done by a human technician. All Absolute Solver would have to do then is find a way to communicate with the drone here and show them the truth of what is being done to them, and give them just enough information for them to blow up Copper 9's humans. This would leave no humans left on Copper 9 to organize a resistance against the disassembly drones or warn the humans back on Earth about this. However, Nori herself warned that these disassembly drones would come and that Khan should build 3 doors to protect everyone. This says to me that whatever happened to Nori, presumably in whatever mysterious room this elevator leads to, it gave her special information that the Absolute Solver was trying to transmit. I imagine Nori agreed to some sort of information exchange with the Absolute Solver, perhaps through a special computer. When this happened, Nori would get the Absolute Solver activated in her, but still seemed to keep her worker OS personality the way that Uzi and Doll seemed to as well. I think an unintended consequence of this, however, was that Nori was able to get her hands on more information than the Absolute Solver intended. Nori would begin drawing monstrous abominations, such as the ones that the Absolute Solver resembles with its mechanics when it takes over various drone parts, or the strange, monstrous creations Uzi made when blowing things up, like the arrow that was fired at her as mentioned before. She kept talking about the disassembly drones coming, and an event called the Singularity, implying some sort of mass takeover of drones by the Absolute Solver, giving it a large number of bodies it could control and perhaps use to fight against the humans back on Earth. Doll has indicated that she is after something that will cure her of the Absolute Solver, and that if she finds it, she will use it to help Uzi as well. When Uzi finds the mysterious bug that can call the elevator, Doll was seen in that room too, and would later come back in episode 5 to get that bug from Uzi while she was trying to help N and V in their flashbacks. Doll ended up bringing this to Tessa, who seems to be forcibly working for Sin with a mission to get into the elevator. They end up bumping into our heroes, which I have to imagine will lead to an epic battle at the beginning of this next episode, but as the teasers show, it seems that we'll mostly be focused on getting a deeper look at the camp, seeing what happened in the basement this elevator presumably leads to, and getting an idea of what the Singularity is and why Nori was so afraid of it. But what do you guys think? Let me know your theories of what's going to happen in the next episode of Murder Drones in the comments down below, and I'll see you guys next time.